Okay, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the how-to guide on how to create and monitor an email campaign. I won't read it to you, but I'll summarize the different sections of the email campaign, and then for each step, I'll show it to you, and then we'll move on to the next step, all the way to the last step, which is the sixth step, through the creation of the email process, and then at the end, we'll show you how to monitor the campaign after it's gone out and react to it. And then there's a follow-up on how to insert an image into an email campaign, because out of all 6 steps, that's the trickiest piece. And also, what tags can you place inside your email campaign to include things like the contact's first name, the date, the month, the date, the year. We have tags to include information about the community. About you can insert a tag in there for your information in terms of your name, email, mobile number, those kind of things. I don't want to dive into too much detail now, but we'll cover that. Okay, so going to the very beginning, that's not the beginning. We'll start with a little bit of background. Okay, because when we're talking about an email campaign, we're talking about an email blast to multiple people, or an email blast to a distribution list. We'll do email campaigns or email blasts for promotions, invitations, announcements, anything that you want to communicate out to your contacts or your distribution list. We have an email campaign already queued up here, which is an invitation to an event you're having on June 6th, I believe, which we'll use as an exercise during the training. So what we'll do is we'll start by going to the email campaign module in the system, and we'll create a new email campaign from scratch, and then I'll walk you through the steps. So I've logged in right now under Lisa's account, who's the administrator for Keyland Homes. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the email marketing module, which is right here in this menu option, or this tab, some people refer to it as. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new campaign. So starting a new campaign, you click on this button right here in the upper left, which is this button here, new email campaign. And then immediately what I'm presented with is a menu of 6 steps, or you can walk through it by hitting the next button, going from step 1 to step 2. And then of course, when you're in subsequent steps, you can go backwards. But in step 1, what it's asking us to do is enter the general information about the email campaign that I'm going to put together. And in your how-to guide, it talks about step 1 right here, obviously. So what I'm going to do in step 1 is I'm going to enter the subject of the email. Can somebody throw out the subject of that campaign on June 6th for me so I can type it in?
Call it Free Family Fun.
And what's the financial company that's sponsoring it with you?
Pacific Union Financial.
This may not fit, but we'll, okay. Okay, so after I put the subject line for the email in there, I'm going to give it a description. And the description is not for anybody else to see but yourself internally or within the company. the people that receive the email don't see this description. Only you see this description. But what's important about the description here is a lot of times you'll create an email campaign and it's targeted to a specific distribution list. You might want to use the description to indicate who this is going to. That way you can differentiate that with other campaigns. So I'm going to enter, this is to be sent to all contacts, and then I'm going to give it a type, like an invitation. And type is just FYI. It's not important in terms of how the email actually functions. It's just there to help you maybe find it in your campaigns when you're going back to monitor what's going on with this campaign. All right. Now, what you can do here is you can share the campaign with other employees within the organization or not. And if you want others to see this campaign because they may want to copy it or monitor what's going on with it, you can share it. But if you don't share it, only you can see it in the system. Or if you're a manager like Lisa or Gary, they can see everything. So that's what share means. I'm going to go ahead and share this one. Right here is who the email actually comes from and who they reply to. In this case, it's Lisa, but we could put somebody else in there at any time. So for training purposes, I'll leave Lisa in there. We can change it later. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next step. And in the second step, what I'm going to do, as you can see in the how-to guide, is select the template. And the template is the container for your email. And the template will have a layout, sidebar, heading, body, or just a heading and a body. Or it may just be a letter template, which addresses the email to their first name and just has an open body. Or you can have a completely blank template. I'll show you the differences when I go back and edit this later, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the letter format right now. Again, I'll show you what that looks like, and then we can go back and change it. So that's real easy. I just pick my template there. Then I move on to step 3, which allows me to target the email by selecting your contacts. Now, by targeting the email, what I can do is I can say, well, maybe this is an event. It's an invitation or event just to real estate agents. So I can say, I want to filter on real estate agents, add all that are in my list, and then I have a distribution list of 325 real estate agents. But what I might want to do is I might want to also include prospects. And now I can add on my prospects, and now I have a much bigger list of 1,846 prospects. Great. I'm not including customers, folks that have already bought a home from me, because maybe it's a promotion. Maybe you're offering an incentive and you don't really want to offer an incentive to somebody that's already signed a contract, because then they'll want that incentive too, obviously. Now to eliminate, just maybe a little coaching here, to eliminate anybody that's under contract, when I select prospects, okay, you'll want to select only active leads. And the reason why you only want active leads, because if they're under contract, they're really not active anymore from a sales perspective. They're under contract. So I'll just want to enter or select them. Okay. So remember that. That's important. Now, if I want to go find an individual, let's see if I'm in there. Okay, I am. I can type in their name. I can type in their email address and add them as well. Obviously, I'm in here because I've been doing some testing and probably some support for you. Okay, moving on to the next step. Let me get this out of the way. I'm going to go to step number 4 by hitting next, and I'm going to enter the content of the email. I have to be careful when I say that because contact and content sounds very similar. We're talking about step number 4, which is content, or the body of the email. In the guide, okay, on step number 4, I want to draw your attention to this important note. this is very important information when it comes to putting your email together. It talks about the formatting of your email, and it talks about images. Okay. These are very important points, and I'll summarize for you during the training here. We designed our software to be as easy to use as possible. And what I mean by that in this context is we don't want you to have to try to spend a lot of time formatting your email, setting fonts, setting styles, all that kind of stuff. We put the formatting in the template that we built for you. So all you need to do is put in plain text into your email. And that includes cutting and pasting. So if I take, let me go open up a Word document, and I'm going to pick something very random here. Let's say I take this Word document and I want to include this in my email. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it right in here. But you'll notice you don't see those big large fonts, and you don't see the coloring, and you don't see all that in here, and it's not centered. It's all left justified. When you paste in here, it's pasted as plain text. And the reason why we do that is we want your formatting to be consistent, to match your template, and so on and so forth, so that everything is consistent and looks good. Now you can see that this font was applied, and it's very basic. It's gray and it's not large or anything like that, but it defaults to back to your font and your styling from your website. So again, it looks consistent and matches your website. Now, if you want to make this a little bigger and say, okay, I want that bigger, you can do so. And maybe I want that to be bold, I can do that. And maybe I want that to be blue or purple or whatever that is. You can do that. But again, the intent is to give you a very simple format to put your text into. And then we apply the fonts and the styles and the coloring and all that kind of stuff. All right. Now, that's easy, the text. Now, let's say I'm going to delete this. I want to insert an image, and I have one ready for you. What I do is I put my cursor in the body of the email here where I want that image to appear. I go up here and I say, in this menu option, insert image. And say, okay, well, I have the image on my computer. I'm going to go ahead and browse for it. It is here, and this is my image. Okay. I'll go ahead and select it. And you know what, actually, let's go ahead and select that image and insert it into my email. So it's uploading the image. Okay, there you go. It's in your email right now. And now let's say I want to center it. Fine. And okay, cool. Now I have an image. I'm going to go on to step number 5, and I'm going to preview my email. There's my email in the letter format template with the Keyland logo in the upper left, addressing it to the contact's first name, and then I have my image there. This is part of the image as well. There you go. If that's all I want to do, I can send it, move on to step 6, and send it, and I'm off and running. Or I might want to schedule it for tomorrow morning, and then you send it. Okay, great. I'm going to cancel this. I don't want this going out now. But now what I'm going to do for you, by the way, you can now see this in your list right here. Okay. And if it's buried somewhere and you can't figure out where it is, you might want to just search by emails that are in draft format and only the ones I created. And there you go. You can find it much easier that way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit this email, and I'm going to show you some additional things that you can do with this. I'm going to click on the edit button right here, and it takes me back to the email on step number 1. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. It's very quiet, so I don't want to spend 30 minutes doing this and find out that the audio is not working or something. Okay, so I'm going to go to step number 1 when I edit it, and then I'm going to go all the way back to step number 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a link behind this email, and I can see right down in the bottom here of the image. Okay, it says email. You can email to info@keylandhomes.com, maybe as an RSVP, or to Brian. So what I want to do is I want to put a link behind this image. So I'm going to highlight the image. I'm going to go up here to where it says insert link. I'm going to click on that. And then I am going to enter that email address in here as a link. info@keylandhomes.com. RSVP is going to be the subject line. I'm going to say OK. And now I have a link behind this image. And when I go preview it, okay, back to step number 5, and I click on that image, cool, I've got a link that works. And you'll be able to track when people clicks on these links. You'll be able to monitor anybody that opens this email or clicks on these links or goes in and unsubscribes or opts out. And I'll show you more about that later. Okay, but maybe I don't want this template, or I don't want this logo on the upper left, and I don't want it to be addressed to the person's first name. It kind of doesn't look good. Maybe I want it to look a little bit differently. I can go back to step number 2. I can select the blank template, preview it again, and now I have a much cleaner looking email. Okay. All right, but maybe I want something different, and I want the one with the sidebar on it. This is just for training purposes, and if I preview it, this is what it's going to look like. And you say, oh, that really doesn't look good. It's too wide and all this kind of stuff. I'll go back to the blank one, and I'll stick with that. So that's how you swap templates out. And you can see how easy it is to do all that. Now, I might even say, and I know I'm getting into a lot of specifics here, but this is training. I might want to say, okay, I want to address this to their first name, and I'm gonna do that up in the header. No, actually, I'm not. I'm gonna do it right here. Hello. I'll put a tag in there. Okay, and I'll show you how to do the tags in a minute. Now when I preview this, you'll see that it addressed it to their first name, and it's kind of weird. It's up at the top, but I can change it. Maybe add a couple spaces, and maybe that looks a little better. But I think you get the idea. Now, from there, again, I can go ahead and schedule it to go out, or go ahead and send it now. And there you go. Now, what I always recommend, and this is very important, and it's in the how-to guide, is to always test your emails before you send it. And the reason why that is important is because this email image may be too wide for your template, or it may be, the formatting may be off. You never know. What you'll want to do is put your email address up in here and send yourself a test message, and it'll show up in your inbox for review. And Lisa, you're about to get an email, obviously. That's very important. Okay, so now that the email's done and it's scheduled to go out, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and schedule this to go out in the future. Since the event is on the 6th, let's just say I'll send one out on Friday the 29th, okay? And we can come back and change this later. It's there and it's ready to go. What does this say? Oh, I need a time, sorry. 7:30 in the morning, let's just say. Okay. It just tells you the email is scheduled for the delivery. Now, I can look at my scheduled emails and you'll see it in the list. The status says scheduled. It was created today, but it's scheduled to go out on May the 29th at 7:30 to 1,452 contacts. Okay? Then when it's scheduled, when it's sending, it'll say sending here under the status. And then when it's sent, it'll say, whoops. Well, looks like, Lisa, you don't have any sent ones. It'll show you a status of sent. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to check on the status of all this and monitor this. And then I'm going to go back and circle back and show you a little bit about the images and inserting the images, because that's really important. Okay. So after the email has been scheduled and then ultimately is sent, I can go in and any of them that has been sent, I can go under this tracking icon and click on it, and I can see everybody that was included on the distribution list. I can see if there was any errors, and an error doesn't mean a bug. An error means we couldn't send it for some reason. And in this case, you had a duplicate in there. That's great. You don't want, obviously, that was Matt Ashworth here was already included. So, yep, it doesn't send duplicates. Here's another duplicate. And in this case, there was no email address. Okay, obviously we can't send it in that case. I can filter or sort by errors by just clicking on the column heading here. And then you'll see that the errors are showing up at the top. Now, this is a very clean campaign, by the way. You had only one @VAT email address in there, which bounced in the past, but everything else was very clean. This is good. Now, what I can also do is I can click on the red column. In other words, they read the email or they opened the email, and you can see everyone that read this. This is a very good open rate. So now you see everybody that read it, and then you can see if they clicked on a link, filtering again in different order, right here. And I'm assuming this email probably didn't have a call to action or a RSVP. That's probably why you only had one click. But what you can do is you can go in and you can click on Beverly's name here, and you can go into the history, and you can see, okay, the email was sent, the email was read, and here they clicked on the link, and then you can see which link they actually clicked on. Looks like the Find New Home link. That's awesome. So that's really good stuff. Now, going back to email marketing, I have my scheduled email. What I can do from here is I can actually make a duplicate of that email by clicking on the copy button, which is the center button right here, create a copy of this email. And then in this case, you know, we have the event on June 6th. You'll have an email that goes out on May the 29th, 1 week before that, and then you might want a reminder, you know, the day before, so you can clone this and schedule it to go out on the 5th, and then you have two emails that are exactly the same that go out to that distribution list. And by the way, if anybody opts out of the first one, they are automatically removed or not included on the second email that goes out, so you don't have to worry about that. Actually, I think their contact record will be on the distribution list, but the system will not send the email. The system will say, oh, they opted out, I can't send it. So you're protected in that case. Okay, the final thing I'm going to talk about real quick is inserting images, because it's very important, and then we'll stop for questions. So I'm going to go back to editing this email, going to step number 4. And what you'll see in the how-to guide is there's a separate section on inserting an image all the way down here at the bottom. Okay, so what you have here is a description on how to set the width and such for the image. I guess the most important thing that you need to know, at least at this point, is that that image needs to be a JPEG file or an image file. It cannot be a PDF. So you have to convert it to a PDF first, to a JPEG first. And you have to size it, the width, appropriately before you insert it into the email campaign. Those are the two most important things. And this guide tells you how to determine the width. Here, if you have a sidebar, that 480 pixels is generally the maximum width. And then if you have an email that it doesn't have a sidebar, somewhere between 600 and 730 pixels wide, we recommend 650 pixels
Hey,
wide.
Dave,
Yes.
we're losing your audio on your end a little bit.
Okay. All right. I'll slow it down.
Okay.
All right. So again, the width of the image has to be set before you insert it into the email campaign. There's a separate guide in here on resizing images before inserting it into an email. That is included, and it shows you similar things to what we just talked about, but maybe in a little bit more detail. It even shows you in this guide how to use Microsoft Paint to set the width of the image. Okay, so if you don't have Photoshop, or if you don't have some fancy software to do it, most people have Microsoft Paint available, and you can set the size to the image there. Now, we are working on technology to automatically resize the image for you. It's not available yet, but we'll let you know when that's available, and then you can just forget about this whole resizing the image thing. Okay. I will stop there. I'm going to stop the recording, and I will be ready for questions now.